I have been super limited on time lately, but I have also received a ton of stuff that's coming out very soon. I've been involved with a whole bunch of projects. I'm just making this video kind of as an aggregate video to discuss a bunch of recent props that I have and just some minor updates on some stuff that's coming along. Okay, so the primary reason why I'm making this video is to show you and discuss this prop. First time I shot this, it was too slow, so I got to speed it up a little bit. Okay, so like I said, the star of this video, which is why I actually wanted to make it, was because of this Azure prop. And when I first tried this particular new version, I was kind of blown away. This is the newer version of their previous kind of broken looking prop. And I've tried the previous props and they were pretty good, particularly their twin blade in the carbon mix material. But this prop is really special. If I was a racer, this is the prop that I would choose for racing. And we now have a lot. Okay, so first and foremost, we have a lot of good props now. There's very few good recent 5-inch props or 6-inch props that you could go wrong with. So this is really just a preference. And if it was my preference, this is the prop I would use for racing, because while the Cyclone feels great and is super durable, and the Hulky and the 5152 from Gemfan are fantastic props, particularly the Hulky. The Hulky, I don't know if I'm saying it right, Hulky, whatever it is. I like that prop a lot. It feels a lot like the 5152 with a little bit more kick to it. It does draw a couple more amps, but it has a little bit more kick, and I like that extra like throttle punch down low. This particular prop has very similar feel to the Hulky in the low throttle department, but it gives you a wider power band, so it's much easier to have a little bit better throttle control. Like the Hulky, it has fantastic grip. It's really, really soft and smooth. It's got really good response, and it has super high durability. This is the prop I would choose for racing because it feels right in the air, and you have to really try all these racing props to figure out which one you like the best. And of the top racing props, still the Cyclone 5046 is by far the highest selling prop on the market. Like it sells almost as much as all the other props combined, but I think there are other props that are better, particularly the Gemfan props. The 5152 is really undervalued, as well as the new Hulk or Hulky prop from Gemfan that came out. It's also a very good prop. I've been testing that prop for a while now. This prop though is just a little bit more special because it just hits all the right points for me. So if I was to choose a racing prop, this is the one I would go with. Okay, so the next 5-inch prop that recently came out was this one. This is the HQ 5x4 5x3, and I've been waiting for this prop because I really like the 5x5x3. And I'll line them up for you so that you can see the difference in pitch. And you can see that the 4.5 is definitely a little bit lower pitch. And so previously, or my alternative acro prop is this one, the Dahl 5040. And this is a really, really good blade. It's got great response, great throttle control. Everything is good about it. It, for me, totally replaces the 5x4x3, the age-old 5x4x3. And it's really good at low speed control. It's got a really low pitch, and that results in higher RPM on the motor, and that means you have more rotational inertia, moment of rotation, whatever it is. I feel like having, one of my weird theories, having higher RPM on your motors, or the ability to have the prop spinning faster, gives you better control, like this gyroscopic momentum of rotation effect. So by having a low pitch and higher RPM, you get that really good low speed control because you have that increased RPM. Now when you look at these other props, the HQ 5x5x3, which is my second favorite acro prop because it gives me great punch and great speed, where the 5040 does not. It doesn't have as good low speed control because it naturally does not need to spin as fast to keep your quad in the air, so you naturally have less low speed control. At least this is my guess. This is my best guess. So I was really anticipating the 5x4 5x3 V1S, which is the same prop as the 5x5, but it's got a little bit lower pitch so that it can give me a better low speed control while still giving me high speed control, and that's exactly what it does. You cannot go wrong with recent 5-inch props that have come out. And while I would previously, if I was really hardcore, I would still travel with these two props, I can simplify that into just this one prop. And I personally would say that the HQ 5x4 5x3 is, in my opinion, probably the best all-around 5-inch prop that we have. It's got great durability, it's got great control, it's got great speed, it's everything. But if I was to kind of really break it apart for very specific situations, these two props would do a better job at low speed control and proximity flying, and high speed control and punch and power flying. But I would only travel with this prop because I'm too lazy. There's another prop from Emax that recently came out from Sage Thayer. It doesn't really, I don't even know what the name is, but this is a 5 by, I don't even know, I think it's a 4.5, 4.3. It doesn't have labeling on the prop, but it's called the Avan Flow. This is a very unique prop, as all of Sage Thayer's props are. It feels very different in the air. It's got good durability, it's got good grip, good everything. The only thing I can really say that's special about this prop is the way it feels. It feels very, very creamy in the air, and it's a very different feel. The throttle is very, it's almost super linear. It's almost too linear, whereas I actually prefer a more traditional throttle power band. This one gives you a super duper robotic power band. At least that's what it feels like to me. It feels like the throttle is just super different. It does not feel the same way, but it feels super smooth. It's super smooth, super silky. The amps are a little bit high, at least on my setups. I run high kV setups. It's probably better for a lower kV motor, probably in the 2400 kV range, but I don't personally like lower kV motors. That's why I've kind of moved towards these lower pitch props, or the HQ props, which are unusually efficient for their pitch and speed delivery. So of these three props, this one is the lowest amp draw. It's under 100 amps on my quad. The 5x5x3 pulls about 140 amps on my quad, and the 5x4 5x3 pulls about 125 amps on my quad. So that's the difference between these two. And you can't compare my quad amps to your quad amps because they are different. And then the next up is going to be this prop, which is the DAL 5544. Yeah, 5544. And it looks like it's a direct scale up of the 5040 prop. And you can see that the pitch is maybe just a hair more than the 5040, so it might actually be a 4.4. But whereas I really liked the 5040 prop, I'm not really a huge fan of the 5.5 inch prop. It feels very much like the 5-inch prop. It doesn't feel like a 5.5 inch prop. It doesn't have any more grip, doesn't have any more real punch, it doesn't have any more speed despite the increased pitch. It does draw more amps, kind of considerably more amps, but it doesn't really give you anything in return for that. And I think that has to do with the blade area. It's very much the same blade. It's almost dropped that. It's very much the same blade. It's not wider, it's just a very small bit longer, which it'll probably give you more efficiency if you just kind of docilely float around, but it's not really, it doesn't feel special to me at all. So I would say just skip that prop. And the next prop is this one, which is the Gemfan 5552. And when I first saw this prop, I thought, holy moly, that's going to be a very inefficient prop because it's got really wide blades. But it's not actually. It actually is very reasonable on the amps. It's not crazy high, and it feels super duper creamy in the air. So similar to the Avan Flow, which I know nobody has tried yet, but similar to the Avan Flow, it feels like this butter effect. So people call 6-inch quads butter quads, and they're called quote unquote butter quads because they have such good throttle authority. When you give it throttle at any range in the throttle range, it just does exactly what you give it. When you give it a little bit of throttle, you can pull right out of dives, no problem. If you give it a lot of throttle, it really kicks you in the butt and gets you moving. And that's a lot of what I feel with this prop as well. It gives you that really super creamy throttle response. We'll talk about 6-inch in a second, but this prop is a really good freestyle prop for very flowy freestyle. If you're going to do quick zippy stuff like Mr. Steel, you're going to want one of these HU props or the 5040 prop. But if you want to do kind of smooth, flowy, like deep dives, this is a really good prop for that. I would recommend it on 2400 kV motor around 2400 kV. I personally like the 2207 size, but this prop is probably going to be better on a 2306. The wider stator will give you a little bit more torque to manage the prop. So then the next prop up is going to be this one. And so let's talk about 6-inch props. So there's recently been a lot of 6-inch props that come out. This is the DAL 6040 6-inch prop. It is not a direct scale up of the 5040 prop, which is nice because you can't really just scale props up and expect them to work the same. But it's not, we'll talk about it in a second. So let's talk about the difference between a 6-inch tri-blade and a 6-inch twin blade. So 6-inch tri-blades have better response than a twin blade. They have a little bit better grip, and they pull slightly more amps. And the 6-inch twin blades have slightly less amps. They can have good response because it's such a big blade. It can give you good response because it can move so much air. But you do give up a little bit of grip when going from a 6-inch tri-blade to a 6-inch twin blade. So we'll talk about twin blades in a second. So this 6-inch DAL 6040 blade is not that special to me. It does not feel particularly good in the air. It weighs far more than if you were to just scale up the 5040 blade. The 5040 blade is like a 3.9 gram blade, and the 5544 is like a 4.2 gram blade, and this is like a 6.3 gram blade. So it's a very heavy blade. It's got fantastic durability for a 6-inch prop, which is really unusual, but it's got really good durability for a 6-inch prop. It does not feel particularly good in the air. It does need a pretty hefty motor to spin this blade. It does feel very lethargic. It doesn't have good speed. It's not really good on the amps. Doesn't have good flight feel. It really doesn't do anything for me. It's just durable. So if you're looking for a durable 6-inch blade, this is the prop for you. I would recommend that on a very lightweight setup. I would not choose this prop for really anything. The Racecraft 6032 is a better all-around blade except for the durability. Of course, this blade is going to be far more durable, but this blade, it just has a fantastic response, fantastic control, much better efficiency than a 5-inch version of it, and it's super duper lightweight. That being said, I would not choose a 6-inch tri-blade. This is all of this is my opinion, but this is really my opinion. So I wouldn't use a 6-inch tri-blade unless I was doing something very specific, like running a very high weight quad and trying to race with it or something, because I don't see a point to a 6-inch tri-blade. When you go down to a 6-inch twin blade, you don't really give up really anything. You give up a little bit of grip and maybe a little bit of response, but if you have the right twin blade, you have very good grip and very good response, like this. This is the Gemfan 6042 twin blade, and I really like this prop because it has surprisingly good response, surprisingly good grip, and really good speed for a 6-inch prop. Like when I launch this thing, it just soars forever. So it's a really impressive prop, and this is currently my favorite 6-inch twin blade. Now, before I tried this prop, which honestly I don't even know who sent me these Gemfan props. I think it was the Gemfan company themselves. If it was somebody else, sorry, please let me know. I mean, I just got so many boxes recently that I don't even know who they came from. This is something I'm not even supposed to show you. This is the new Avan twin blade from Emax, which nobody's really supposed to know about. And previously, before I tried this prop, this was my favorite 6-inch twin blade because it just felt similar to the 5-inch version. It felt super creamy in the air, and as long as you're not putting it on a super high kV motor, it gives you really good efficiency, and it gives you good response. Just smooth. It's a very, very smooth prop, like a 6-inch prop should be. But this prop gives me very similar feeling, and it has a little bit more speed, and it draws maybe slightly less amps than the Avan prop. So these are two fantastic props in the 6-inch category. Okay, so I've gone over a whole bunch of props. like I said, they are all good props. All the recent props coming out are surprisingly good props. Something I've been doing for a while now is limiting my maximum throttle endpoint. And this is a tip that I brought over from racing. This comes directly from really high-end racers, which are not really happy that I expose this information to everybody. But the reason why they limit their maximum throttle endpoint is because something that really kills your battery quickly is this constant like punch to just like crazy amps. Punch, 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 punch. And people have gotten really good at racing, and they're not really like flying around punching anymore, but they're smooth on the throttle, but they still kind of don't want to kind of destroy the battery at the top endpoint. And if you limit your maximum throttle endpoint just a little bit, it takes the edge off of this high-end crazy amp punch, and it doesn't really slow you down. What it does do is it takes a little bit longer to get up to speed. So you're just limiting the amps that your motor has to reach its maximum kV speed. And when the props are unloading and everything is moving and the quad is moving through the air, it actually draws a lot less amps to keep going faster and faster and faster. It's when you punch it down low from a standstill or a reverse, or you just try to change direction really quickly, that's when the amps go crazy, and that's when you want to limit the throttle. In addition to that, you also spread out the remaining throttle range over a wider distance on the throttle stick. So it becomes a little bit easier to maintain your low altitude or whatever speed that you're going at. So once you hit your max stick, you still have a little bit of room to go. It just takes an extra half second to get up to that speed. And in the meantime, you're not ruining your battery along the way. So that's why I limit my maximum amps, because I like higher kV motors and I like the response and feel that they give me, but I don't want those stupid crazy amps to just spike up and kill my battery. A quick note about higher voltage and lower kV. So recently, a lot of people have been testing higher voltage 6S on lower kV in the 1600, 1700 kV region to give you the same final RPM as 4S and 2500, 2600 kV on the motor, like in the air, along with a much smaller 1000 or 1050 milliamp pack, which is equivalent to a 1500 milliamp 4S battery. And there are some efficiency improvements. I've been doing tests on this for like a year. I started like a year and a half ago on high voltage, low kV, and there are some benefits. I personally don't see benefits for acro because it's just, you don't really get, I mean, sag is not a huge issue in acro because we're not pushing the battery to the limits, and we usually run smaller batteries anyways. For racing, there are some benefits that are being proven, and Corey Yates is actually doing a whole lot of research and experimentation on this, and so I hope to have information from him in the future about the potential benefits of higher voltage and lower kV, of which initially we're finding that the main benefits are no sag. There is no sag. It just does not sag because it's much harder to sag down from 22 volts down to like where you start feeling it in your motors. But in that same respect, you might actually break batteries easier. So more to come on that later. Okay, so this frame, and the reason why I have this massive battery on this frame, which I'll take out right now, is because I've been testing the new Hyperlite F4 board, which we have redesigned. So the Hyperlite F4 board I designed over 2 years ago now, and it's still a very well-selling flight controller, even though it does nothing. And the biggest value of it, which I don't even have one to show for you right now, is because I don't even use it anymore, is that it has a flat bottom, or a flat top, you might call it, because people mount it upside down. And if you know about the Hyperlite F4, you know that it has that flat top. And so we're redesigning a new one with all the features in the world. It's got 6 freaking UARTs. There's no flight controller out there that, at least as far as we know, that has 6 UARTs that are available with an F4 chip in there. It has a completely flat top. It's got everything you can imagine. It's got camera control. It's got the telemetry out. It's got 2 inverted UARTs. It's got smart audio. It has everything we could possibly imagine and pack onto one board, except for an SD slot, because we don't think that people really use black box that much, and we don't think it's as important nowadays with the dynamic filters and how good filtering is getting. So we omitted the SD card, and it will have a new target. It will have a Pyro target in the Betaflight code. And it's awesome because it will also be paired with, it has a connector on the flight controller, which I'm showing you inside my build, that will connect to 4-in-1s. And we will be making harnesses for some of the most popular 4-in-1s, as well as recommending our most recommended or our most used, or the one that we think is good, 4-in-1, and have a particular harness for that 4-in-1 for people to use. And it's awesome because it's super duper low build. I mean, look at it. I couldn't even believe how low my build height was. That's my 4-in-1. I'm actually using the Hobbywing 4-in-1. It has a current sensor on board, and the connector for the flight controller has a current sensor input pin as well as a 4-in-1 Betaflight 32 telemetry pin. It literally has everything we could think of moving forward. And also, moving forward, we are entering the era of F7 chips and the usefulness of F7 chips with the new Kalman filtering and various other things they're going to implement, whatever. But F7 chips are now beginning to be used, so we also have a roadmap for this board to become an F7 board. And so we have everything we can think of. Of course, there are stuff that are coming from other companies that are development systems. The board also takes direct battery voltage in. You can give it 6S direct, and that's what I was testing with the 6S battery. I was running it on 6S to make sure the board does not fry, does not burn out. There's a funny thing about 6S or high voltage in general, or even just 4S. The problem is that one of the main reasons why we run caps is so that it kind of dissipates or gets rid of excess voltage and excess voltage spikes. And when you unplug your battery out of your quad, you may notice that sometimes your motors kind of are still magnetized and the system is still kind of charged. And that residual charge is, at least in my experience, what often causes burnout of boards. When you plug in the new battery, you get this spark and fire and everything goes up in flames. So there's a very simple fix to that we have now recognized with me and Underground FPV, which they're creating a couple of FCs that are coming out, and FC all-in-ones and all that stuff, which they're going to implement this system that does not allow that burnout to happen. I can't really say what it is. I don't know if it's private or not. I'm not supposed to say it, whatever. It will be a system that prevents the 4-in-1 or ESC or all-in-one or everything or the powertrain from burning out due to residual charge that is in the system. So it's something to watch out for. It's worse on 6S than it is on 4S, and I don't really know this area very well. I don't know any of this area very well. I'm not trained in any of this stuff, but this is all just based on experience. It's all just based on discussion with other people that make these flight controllers. The camera that you are watching, that you saw, the FPV camera, is the Foxeer Predator. Now, I've used Predators previously. They've sent me a bunch of prototype Predators, but they have not been the final version. This Predator camera is freaking awesome. It is the most beautiful FPV view I have ever seen. It is sharp. It is clear. It is extremely vivid. It literally turns the world into a video game. I cannot believe how nice the picture is. It's not flawless, of course, but holy moly, that is a beautiful picture, and it is the only camera I will use moving forward, the micro version. This is the mini version because for some reason they sent me a bunch of mini cameras. But I will be getting the micro version, and I hope that someday soon they will come out with the 16:9 wide version so that it fits my goggles, and the 16:9 wide version hopefully will have the same vertical field of view. I really do think the Predator camera, even though it might be wonky or whatever, the picture that it gives me is definitely the best FPV picture I have seen in a long, long time. Much better than these regular micro cameras that are, currently popularized. The frame that I'm showing here is the Floss 2.1, the newest body version or the newest everything version, which I'm testing. The arms are 5mm. They have been refined as much as I can to not break at the connection to the main body or not break at the motor connection and be as skinny and light as possible. As you may know, if you follow me, I'm not a huge fan of 5mm because it makes the motor platform thicker and it makes you need to use longer screws and it makes you need to have a thicker body connection, so it just wastes a bunch of weight. But I've gone 5mm because of popular demand and because the arms are now connected. They are connected arms, commonly called C-train arms now, and the arms are now connected. It only uses 2 screws to hold the arms on. As you can see, I have redesigned the bottom to get rid of the outer sections because I have bulked up the arm enough so that hopefully, so far we haven't had anybody break any 5mm arms, but the 4mm version breaks somewhere around this area. It does not break right here at the hub where the Floss 2 arms would commonly break if they did actually fracture. So this frame is coming. I mean, we already have a bunch of them. This is actually not even the final plate. It's a prototype plate. I'm working on a new material for the arms. I hope to be able to use this new material for the arms. It's like a carbon mix with something else, which is pretty darn interesting. The special edition Flow Ride frame is coming from Underground FPV. They have done an incredible job making the frame special. And also, last but not least, these goggles. These goggles are the Top Sky, I don't even know what. They actually visited Pirofliprc the other day. So they're here on, not vacation, but they're here to go to CES. and they are going to present some stuff at CES, and they updated the goggles based on all the feedback from all the YouTube channels that said they're complete rubbish, including a bunch of people that I talked to in China, which kind of consult for all these companies, that said it's crap. And they have improved it quite a bit. They kind of changed the faceplate a little bit. It's a little bit better. They changed the screen. The screens that they were using was a reference, as far as I know, what these people tell me is that they were using a reference design screen. They actually didn't finish building out the screen or building the technology. So they did actually finish the screen. They finished the driver system. So there is no more ghosting. The screen is much easier to see. It's much clearer. It has a very smooth screen, actually. So like there's no pixelation at all. It is actually 720p. It does look pretty darn good. Unfortunately, the rest of the casing is still crap. They did change the color. They made a little bit darker plastic. The plastic does feel higher quality. Buttons are all the same. The module bay is still upside down, which I exclaimed to them. Nobody in the Western market will even think twice about getting these goggles if you're going to make them put their module in upside down, because nobody wants that. So they're going to redesign one for the Western market. They designed it like this because apparently in China market or Asia market, most people use RJ or RBX something receivers, and so those are the other way around. So they designed it like this. It does have DVR. Apparently they fixed the DVR. I have not tested that yet. And they have this stupid faceplate on top of it, which it looks kind of cool, but it's just dumb. And the color is... They're going to redesign the package based on feedback from a number of people, and hopefully it will have a much cleaner finished package. It is a company that I now kind of respect because they're trying. They're actually trying to improve their product, and they're talking to people to try and make it better. One thing that I also told them is that while this sensor here, which turns off the screens when you take it off your face, like a cell phone, is very cool. If that sensor makes a mistake, then you go blind while you're flying. So I told them, get rid of that darn sensor because it doesn't matter. We can unplug the battery. And yeah, that's that. There's a bunch of other stuff coming. There's a company making a fantastic controller finally that's coming. For the most part, this controller is freaking awesome, and I cannot wait to show it to everybody. And there's some new electronic stuff coming. There's new all-in-ones coming. There are new 4-in-1s coming. BL Heli 32 is becoming more popularized, and the new Betaflight's coming, which looks freaking awesome. And there's a lot of stuff happening, and on top of that I got loads of micro stuff on the way which will, I don't know why micro stuff has just become so interesting to me because I don't have the ability to fly anywhere where I live. So I've gotten onto this whole microwave, and I've got some micro frames coming, and yeah, it's interesting moving forward. I just don't have enough time to make individual videos, so I just made one big long video. So sorry, this is just kind of off the cuff talking, like nothing. I'll do my best to get stuff out to you guys. Have fun. Don't forget to floss, like your teeth with actual floss, real floss, your teeth. And that's it. Take care.